Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here. Wednesday, September the 21st. It's the Feast of St. Matthew, Apostle. First reading is taken from the letter to the Ephesians. I, a prisoner in the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. I want you to put this into specific, the context of the readings of the day, or the feast of the day, Feast of St. Matthew. Paul's a Pharisee. Matthew's a tax collector. Like, Paul had every reason to hate, despise, be disgusted by Matthew. He's a Pharisee, and he calls himself Pharisee of the Pharisees, like he was, past tense, was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. Like, in other words, he was keeping everything of the law with great zeal, and in his mind and in his heart, love for God. He was doing this for love of God. He would have despised the tax collectors. Here he's saying, I, a prisoner in the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of calling for which you have been called to all humility, to maintain the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. I submit to you that, Paul would have met Matthew. Remember, he met the apostles. He met Matthew, and he would have seen the power of Jesus Christ in the lives of these men. He would have seen it, and he would have, his neurons would have been firing, because he also, of course, had personal appearances by Jesus. But Paul lives what he preaches. He talks about unity, but he also lives unity. He knows and he accepts with all of his heart that Jesus has brought Matthew. He's actually converted Matthew, and Matthew is now a full-blooded disciple. He's a full-blooded Jew, but he's a full-blooded disciple of Jesus. And this possibility is for everyone on the face of the earth. It can be your worst enemy. It can be your sibling. It can be your family member you think is never going to, accept the gospel, accept, what Jesus invites them to accept. But just remember, Paul despised Matthew before Jesus Christ. Because of Jesus Christ, they were united as brothers. That's the power that is only possible because of the person of Jesus Christ, his word, and the sacraments. Okay, so the gospel, it's a rather obvious gospel. It's coming, right? It's from St. Matthew's gospel. So it's the calling of Matthew. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth. So he's sitting doing his job. And he says to him, follow me. And Matthew got up and followed him. And as Jesus sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. There's so much here. You got to watch this. I can't remember what episode in The Chosen, this wonderful series depicting the life of Jesus Christ. And the calling of Matthew, and it's like the other, I can't remember how many disciples had already been chosen at that time, or apostles, let's say the other 8 or whatever. They were all opposed to it. It's like, no, you can't do this. What are you talking about? Why are you calling this man? Jesus says to Peter, I think I'm going on memory here, I called you. Peter says, well, that's different. And Jesus says, get used to different. It's beautiful, right? They've got to get used to the fact that if Jesus calls somebody, he can't be wrong. Yes, he will call Judas. He wasn't wrong. Judas was destined to be a great saint, a great apostle. Jesus calls every person. They can reject his calling. There's nothing wrong with the calling of God. The problem is me, you. That's where the problem is. The devil doesn't make us do anything, and God doesn't make us do anything. God gives us all the grace we need to accept his invitation. But you and I, ultimately, we stand on the battlefield of choice, of making a decision either for or against evil, and for or against good, for the person of God or for the person of Satan. Because ultimately, even though I'm not choosing the devil, it's a binary option. Ultimately, when it comes right down to it, it is a binary option, God or the devil. So today, let us think about Matthew, how he opened his heart to the beauty of Jesus Christ, and his life was changed. God offers this for every single person, and that begins with you, and it begins with me. And it's not usually a one-off. It's something we have to renew every day, because we all know there are forces, the world, trying to rip us apart, take us away from God. So renew that calling every single day. God bless you, and thank God for it.